Good afternoon, I'm Charles Lejano. This is One News Now. The Red Cross warns that it may again halt its PhilHealth-funded COVID-19 tests. That's if the state insurer fails to settle the remaining balance in the coming days. Man Los Baños has the report.
The Philippine Red Cross has resumed its PhilHealth-funded COVID-19 tests after the agency paid half of its overdue balance. This means those sponsored by PhilHealth, including the vulnerable sector, may now avail again of the free tests at all PRC labs. The PRC Swab Center in Mandaluyong, for one, is now preparing for the surge of individuals who would want to get tested. But PRC Chairman Senator Richard Gordon said the partial payment of 500 million pesos is not enough.
Nagbayad na sila ng kalahati. May letter kami na they have to pay it right away. We're not going to wait long for that. They have to pay for it right away. That is their manifestation of good faith.
In a letter, PhilHealth President Dante Geran asked for understanding over the delay in payment. Geran explained that the agency just wanted to make sure that their memorandum of agreement is followed. The official vowed to pay the remaining balance once the validation of documentary requirements is done. But Gordon explained that the PRC has already submitted the complete documentation to PhilHealth.
I'm asking him to send a bill of particulars. Ano ba ang gusto niya? I cannot give him something that we don't have. And what we have are the records of all those people who tested, the names, their addresses, their telephones, their sex, everything. We have provided that. And in accordance with the contract,
Geran also responded to the insinuations that the agency is reckless and is playing on people's lives. He explained that the state insurer is just exercising judiciousness to protect the people and their funds. Meanwhile, Gordon said they will be very strict in collecting money once the PhilHealth has settled its balance. The senator now wants the agency to pay them 3 days after they send the bill, or else they will halt the tests again.
kung hindi kami makapag-test, mas malaking damage. Isang laboratory, hindi mo bayaran, kaya niya yun eh. Kami, ang dami-dami namin tinetest. Pag tumigil kami, malaking dagok yun, di ba? So dapat, responsibility-wise, bayaran niya agad.
Gordon explained that the PhilHealth can also make the payment in advance as stated under their agreement.
Bali sir, pag gano'n nang nangyari, wala na kayong dapat singilin sa kanila kasi basically nag-a-advance sila ng pera.
Revolving yun. You pay, they pay as they're tested.
Okay.
We cannot test without that. And that's allowed.
The PRC chairman clarified that this is not the same as the controversial Interim Reimbursement Mechanism or IRM. In response, Geran said they will seek a post facto approval for this procedure as recommended by the Justice Department. The PhilHealth chief added that the agency wants to eventually renegotiate its contract with the PRC, but Gordon is not amenable to this move unless the terms needed to be negotiated upon are cleared. After the PhilHealth's partial payment, the PRC is now set to pick up around 450,000 test kits from China. Reporting for News 5, Mean Los Baños, we are One News.
Experts warn that the relaxed restrictions in public transportation, among others, will result in further COVID-19 transmission. To tell us more, JC Cosico is joining us live from Mandaluyong City. JC, good afternoon. What's the latest on this?
Charles, with the government easing restriction on public transportation, researchers warn that doing so may lead to a spike in COVID-19 cases.
The UP Octa research team says it has observed a slight increase in the number of COVID infections since last month, when authorities decided to relax distancing rules in PUVs. UP Octa fellow Professor Guido David suggests that the government as well as private companies should look into other options to curb the spread of the virus.
There could be other solutions like increasing the number of buses and maybe government augmenting yung public transportation to make it happen.
The health department shares the same view. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere once again reminds the public to follow strict health protocols.
Unti-unti nating lift ang restrictions, but with that safeguard na kailangan ang mga tao will change their behavior and comply with the minimum health standards.
Meanwhile, the health official says the Food and Drug Administration is constantly monitoring reports of unregistered COVID-19 vaccines in the Philippines. She is responding to reports that a Chinese vaccine has entered the Philippines without an FDA approval. A cold storage facility for the vaccines is also being prepared. The government is eyeing to equip each region with one. As for the 5 officials ordered suspended by the Ombudsman for the alleged delay of benefits for health workers, Vergere says they are open to any probe.
So we are supporting our 5 officials. These officials had been with us for decades already. Nagbigay na ho ng ganong sakripisyo, commitment, and integrity-wise, sila po ay mapagkakatiwalaan.
Charles, the UP Octa research team also reported that 18 areas are considered to be at higher risk for COVID-19 based on the number of cases daily and the attack rate. These include Pasig, Makati, and Pasay in NCR. Now, concerned LGUs were told to ramp up their testing efforts and isolation. Back to you.
Thank you. That was JC Cosico reporting live from Mandaluyong. The health department logs more than 2,000 new COVID-19 cases on Wednesday. Nearly 39,000 of the 375,000 caseload are considered active. The death toll now stands at over 7,100 after the virus killed 60 individuals in the past 24 hours. Recoveries, meanwhile, have inched closer to the 330,000 mark, as more than 500 individuals have gotten better from the disease. The Senate is eyeing the approval of the proposed 4.5 trillion peso budget bill by end November. Speaking to reporters on Wednesday, Senate President Tito Soto expressed relief that the lower chamber was able to submit its version of the spending plan ahead of deadline. He's also projecting to get the BICAM nod by December 8th.
We're keeping our fingers crossed that barring unforeseen circumstances, we will be able to keep to this schedule.
The Senate leaders said they're bent on scrutinizing the budget proposal to ensure that no pork makes the cut. Soto singled out the Public Works Department, which has been the subject of President Duterte's corruption allegations.
No, we will not soft pedal on DPWH. At saka knowing Cynthia, hindi inahayaan naman niya eh. I've seen it in the past eh. Ang daming interpellations sa DPWH, hindi naman siya nang-aawat eh.
We'll be back with more stories after a quick break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. The Education Department clarifies that its new vehicles were purchased prior to the pandemic. Netizens have called out the agency for supposedly having its own Dolomite scam. Jenny Dongon with the details.
The Education Department on Wednesday defended its recent purchase of brand new pickup trucks. The agency said the vehicles were part of its budget allocations prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. Under the 2019 General Appropriations Act, 88 pickup trucks and 90 vans were initially allotted for the DepEd. The next batch under the 2019 national budget included an additional 148 pickup trucks and 93 vans. The agency explained that it has been distributing the vehicles for use in far-flung areas since late 2019. The pickup trucks will be used by field officers in times of calamities and other situations such as the pandemic. In a statement, Undersecretary Alain Pascua said they are now being used to deliver modules and transport personnel to various areas. The clarification came after a number of social media users called out the agency, likening its recent move to the Dolomite issue. Recall that the Environment Department pushed through with a multi-million beautification of Manila Bay amid the pandemic. The Alliance of Concerned Teachers also slammed the DepEd over its injudicious use of education funding. ACT Secretary General Raymond Basilio said it should not use the health crisis as an excuse for the wrong priorities.
Hindi namin sinasabi na hindi kailangan ng mga engineers ito. Sinasabi namin, dapat tinignan natin yung hierarchy of needs.
Basilio called on the DepEd to instead provide more funding for learning materials and internet connectivity. For News 5, Jenny Dongon, We Are One News.
Thousands of Metro Manila residents flock to cemeteries ahead of their week-long closure, which will start tomorrow. People aged below 15 and above 65 are prohibited, and those who are allowed to enter should wear face masks and shields. The usual inspections are still in place to ensure that visitors aren't carrying flammable materials and other banned items. The NCRPO has deployed nearly 30,000 cops and other personnel to secure all the cemeteries across the capital. Last month, Mayor Isko Moreno ordered the temporary closure of his cemetery to avoid mass gatherings amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Several other NCR mayors then followed suit. The Labor Department will iron out its telecommuting policy to safeguard employees from the consequences of working from home. Shaila Francisco with the details.
Mon has been working from home as a customer service representative for 2 months now. He admits that the current setup is more stressful and overwhelming compared to when he is working at the office. Mon says he receives calls from his co-workers even when he's off the clock. Customer-related concerns, meanwhile, sometimes take 3 more hours beyond his work schedule.
Mas stress in a sense na yun nga kasi wala kang kasama, mainit, yun, tsaka yun, wala kang kausap. Kaso dito, ramdam mo kasi wala kang kausap. Wala kang makausap na office mate mo or wala kang supervisor na hihingan mo ng tulong din agad-agad kasi kailangan itatransfer mo sa kanya.
Liev, another work-from-home employee, says her electricity bill spiked by 1,000 pesos monthly since March. She even had to upgrade her home internet system for her work as a finance and admin officer.
Malaking bagay yung 1,000 pero as a sacrifice din naman and contribution to the company like us. So yun, sinashoulder namin yung additional expense na yun.
A labor group says the increased cost for gadgets and electricity as well as burnout are among the major complaints of employees under the work-from-home scheme. Data from the Labor Department show that some 18,000 employees are currently working on the said arrangement. But until now, the Trade Union Congress of the Philippines says there are no clear labor guidelines for the work-from-home expenses as well as burnout concerns. The group says workers have the right to clarify these issues with their employers, especially since this affects their productivity.
The right to disconnect, no? Dapat sa panahon ngayon may karapatan ang mga manggagawa to disconnect with the gadget, with the employers.
The DOLE explains that employers and employees should have a written agreement on who will shoulder the costs for remote work equipment. The department acknowledges that the scheme continues to take a toll on workers' mental health. Such concerns, DOLE says, is being looked into during the policy discussion of the Telecommuting Act's implementing rules. Shaila Francisco, We Are One News.
More than 70 million Americans have cast their votes ahead of the November 3 U.S. presidential elections. The early voter turnout has now reached more than half of the total voter tally in 2016. This according to the U.S. Elections Project. Those who have cast their ballots in the race between Republican President Donald Trump and Democrat Joe Biden have highlighted their desire to reduce the risk of COVID-19 transmission. The record-breaking pace is seen to mark the highest voter turnout in terms of percentage in over a century. For more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. And you can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. We are One News.